In this video, I'll show you how you can use a PowerShell script to generate email traffic within your test lab environment. Now that's really useful because having some email traffic being sent around between your mailboxes will help you with such things as learning how to use message tracking in Exchange. It also gives you some data for learning how to do backup and restore. And to use features such as in-place archiving. So it's really useful to have that data there, and it's very useful to have it be created automatically for you by a script rather than have to log into mailboxes and send test emails yourself. Now there are a few steps involved in setting this up. It's not as simple as just downloading the script and running it. So I'll demonstrate those now, and I'll also include a link below this video that you can follow. That will take you to an article that explains these steps as well. So we'll just go to this PowerShell window here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to install the Windows feature RSAT AD PowerShell. Now that installs the Active Directory module for PowerShell, which gives us access to some commandlets that the script actually relies on. Jumping over to the web browser, we also are going to need the Exchange Web Services Managed API. Now what you can do is just do a search for startmailgen.ps1, which is the name of the script, and you should find my website exchangeserverpro.com probably at the top of those results, and that will take you to the page that explains how to set this up, as well as includes download links for the Exchange Web Services Managed API and also the script file itself. So just scrolling down here, there's the download for the script. So I just need to trust my site so that my server will be able to download it. Okay, it's only a small file, so that won't take long. And we also need the Exchange Web Services Managed API. And just to be sure, I'll trust Microsoft.com just so I don't run into any security issues with that download. Okay, you want the 64-bit, not the 32-bit version. Download complete, so I'll just jump over here to my downloads folder. I'll run the API installation. Do it for everybody. You can just leave it in that default path because that's the path that's actually coded into the script itself. If you did install to another directory, you can just modify that string in the script. And I'm just going to create a folder off my C drive here and call it scripts. We'll put in that zip file in here. Now we'll just extract the files. Okay, so there's the script file itself and a couple of extra files that come with it that are used to generate the random email subject lines and the message bodies, as well as a couple of dummy attachments that will get attached to some of those test emails as they're sent. Now just jumping back to the article, we also need to do this step here to create the new management role assignment. In this test lab environment, I'm going to just do it for my administrator account and use that administrator account to run the script. I don't really see any need to set up a separate accounts just for that within a test lab. And really, you should never use this script in a production environment. It would create just a complete mess of your production environment if you were running this script, because it does just look at all of the recipients in the address book and starts randomly generating emails to and from those recipients, as well as distribution groups. So definitely do not run this script within a production environment. Only use it in your test lab. So just paste that command into your Exchange management shell to create that new management role assignment. And you would need to close any open PowerShell windows and then launch a new one for that management role, that new management role to take effect for the user. And you'll also see a note here that we need to set the script execution policy on the server to unrestricted, because that script is not actually signed, it's not digitally signed. Okay, so just paste that as well. Set execution policy unrestricted and say yes when it prompts you to accept that change. Okay, so that's basically it. We just need to run the script. There's no parameters required. So I will jump into the folder where that can be run from. You can run it from the Exchange management shell, or you can just run it from a regular PowerShell window, because it will load the Exchange snap-in automatically for you. Alright, so Exchange has connected. It's decided it's going to send 39 emails in this hour. I found 388 mailboxes, 4 distribution groups, and then it's just going to jump through and randomly choose a sender, generate a subject line. It will send to one or more recipients, and in some cases it will just pick a distribution group to send to as well. So it's completely random. And at the end of sending those 39 emails, it's going to go to sleep, and it will sit there waiting for the next hour to come along. And then it will repeat that process, choosing random recipients, random senders, and generate all those emails again. So I'm not seeing any errors here, so I'm pretty sure that this is actually working fine. What I will do is just jump over to one of my client machine, and we'll open up Outlook and see if that's working. I'm logged in here as Alan Reed. So let's see how we go. Alright, so Alan's not lucky enough to have received any of that random email yet. Looking back at my server, I can see that it's finished sending those 39 emails, and it's just waiting for the next hour to start. So eventually I would expect that some emails will land in Alan's inbox as it just randomly chooses those senders and recipients. In fact, we can come back here to Alan's mailbox and we can see that there is at least one sent item. So the script has generated at least one email in that batch of 39 that was sent from Alan. And because it's impersonating the user, the sent item actually ends up in the mailbox. So that's one of the great things about the script. It's not just using SMTP to send mail into the Exchange server. It's actually using Exchange web services to send and receive mail or to send mail as though it was an Outlook client. And therefore the item's going to sent items and things like that as well. So pretty useful. You can leave that running all of the time. If you like, any time that your lab server is up, you can have that script running, just generating traffic. And what I would actually recommend is you set it up as a scheduled task, so that if you happen to restart your machine or shut it down because you're not using it for a few days, that task will kick in automatically when the machine is back online, and it will keep generating those test emails. It doesn't generate so much traffic or email traffic within the lab environment that you should be too worried about your storage. I actually find that the mailboxes only grow to a few megabytes each in size, even after a couple of weeks of running the script, because there's only a few attachments getting sent around. It tends to be pretty small amount of actual data that is generated, but lots of individual items. So let's take a look at setting that up as a scheduled task on the server. And we'll just jump into the administrative tools on the Exchange server and open Task Scheduler. Create a new task. I'll just call it MailGen. I'm going to use the administrator account to run it. Like I said, this is a test lab. I don't really see the point in creating a low privilege account. I do recommend you tick the box to run with highest privileges. That just ensures that there's no issues loading the Exchange snap-in, as I've sometimes experienced in the past. We're going to run whether or not the user is logged in. Over here in the triggers, I'll set a daily trigger of 12:23 AM. That's fine. That's as good as any other time to start. Here in the actions, we want to start a program, and the program is PowerShell.exe, of course. And then the argument is -command, and then in quotes, the path to the script. So in my case, that's C scripts mailgen start mailgen.ps1. And just use quotes to close that, and I'll put a start in folder here as well, just to be sure. Nothing to modify here in the conditions. Let's allow it to be run on demand as well, because that's actually how I'm going to test it. And I'm going to stop the task if it runs longer than 1 day. And I should point out, one extra tick box that's worth checking is to run the task as soon as possible after a scheduled start is missed, just in case the server is restarted or something happens that causes it to miss a day. Okay, so basically what we've got there is a scheduled task that will kick off at about 12:23 in the morning. You can set a slightly different time if you like. And it will execute that script, and it will run for 1 day, and then it will stop, and then the scheduled task will run again the very next day. So just to make sure that there's no issues with the credentials or anything else, just right click and choose run. We see that status switch to running. If there's going to be any problems, it will stop straight away, and you may find in the history that there's an error recorded. But if you just leave that running and then perhaps jump back to your test client, and you're patient enough that you may end up finding or noticing those test emails coming in. And another way you can do it is just to check the message tracking logs. So jumping back to the server, just refresh that, we can see that's still running. So let's just see if there's been any emails go through the server in the last 5 minutes. I'll run get message tracking log from the last 5 minutes. Yep, plenty of items there. So I'm pretty confident that that is working. I could stop that now or just leave it running and basically just let that email traffic generate within my test lab. And we'll make use of some of that data in other lessons coming up in the bootcamp.